Welcome to Ed Fluential Sports, where passion meets precision. And I'm your host, Ed, diving deep into the plays, players, and stories shaping the game. And this is episode 13 of Sports Fanatic Forum. And let's get straight into it with Zip's update. Let's talk about men's basketball. The basketball team improved. Well, the Akron men's basketball team this week won two games. They won back to back. Obviously, they had a loss last week. So this past week, they picked things back up, back in the win column, improved to 22-5. The first win came against Western Michigan, 90-73, a really good win for Akron. So probably the best they had looked in the last few weeks because they were having some really close first halves. This one wasn't the case. They was able to get up to a high start in the first half. Second half was a bit more competitive, and then definitely more competitive than it should have been. But they still ended up winning by 17, so it didn't matter too much. But they got off to a better start, and they was able to maintain that lead. Even with them trading buckets back and forth for a little bit, it was fine because they already jumped out to such a big lead to start the game. Had Sharon Young come off the bench, giving Akron 8 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 steals. And while that's a good stat line coming off the bench. Having obviously Sharon Young, he didn't have to do a lot scoring wise, but he was closing out possessions. Stop in multiple ways by getting the rebounds, having the 6 rebounds off the bench, and getting 3 steals. It's not some of the best defensive starters aren't getting 3 steals per game while starting. So him coming off the bench and being able to produce that and provide that production throughout the first and second half, that was a big reason why they were able to do what they did. You had 4 Akron players score in double digits that game. You had 4 players give you 10 plus points. And then for Western Michigan, Justice Williams, he had a really good game, 21 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and shot 8 of 15 from the field, but it just wasn't enough, but it wasn't the fault of his own. It was that his team didn't give him any help. So he had to carry. And then Akron plays Ball State. And then this is a story of what's been happening consistently these last few weeks, where it's super tight in the first half. Second half, they got to go on a run. It might be close. It might not be, depending on what the other team is able to do. And they're able to respond to that momentum or capitalize off the mistakes that Akron is making. But Akron ended up defeating Ball State 78-65. But that first half was definitely close. It was a very close first half. Monty Wiles ended up going for 26 points, 8 rebounds, and shot 9 of 16 from the field, while Tavari Johnson went for 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists. So in this game, you get Tavari and Monty Wiles both stepping up, just playing great, playing really well, combining for 51 points and leading Akron to their 22nd victory of the year. And then you got Sharon Young coming off the bench once again. He didn't have as many points or rebounds, but he had 2 steals, so that's back-to-back. So that's 5 total steals in the last 2 games. It's like sometimes you see players getting 5 steals in a game, which that's impressive, but nobody's averaging 5 steals. Well, one of the women might, Hannah Higadola, if I'm saying that correctly, she might be averaging around 5 steals because she was getting hella steals. But most players, I would say, aren't averaging 5 steals in basketball in general. So him getting 5 steals in 2 games is great, and he's doing that off the bench. I'm talking about guys coming off the bench. And so 3 steals, then 2 steals, so 5 steals in the last 2 games. His defense has been great coming off the bench. Obviously, defense is more than just the steals that you get, but he's able to close out possessions. He's able to hound who's ever the ball handler. He's able to play well off ball. So really good defense from Sharon Young this past week. But I can't take away anything from Ball State in this game. They shot 46% from 3. You shoot that well, you're likely to keep it close, which they did until the very end. And so they shot really well from 3, 46% from 3. They had 3 players score 10 plus points. You shooting that well from 3, you're going to at least have a chance in that game, which they did. It was just Akron went on a run late, and they weren't able to respond to it. But that's one of the biggest takeaways for Ball State. If you can shoot that well from 3, and that's a good, even in defeat, you still play really well. Like shooting, not any team is shooting 46% from 3. And so then moving to women's basketball, they had a double overtime game last Wednesday versus Ohio, which ended up winning 108-105. Man, this was a long game, especially women's basketball, double overtime. It started at 6, ended at like 10-15, but it went to double overtime, and this was the best that Akron's women's team had looked all year. The women's basketball team hadn't played this well all year, even in the wins they had before this. They're 7-20 on the season now. Went 1-1 this week. But this game, Shania Brew, she had an 18.12 assist game. Like Akron, their women's team is usually terrible when it comes to assist turnover ratio because they usually have more turnovers than assists. But in this game, they had more assists than turnovers. And then while she had a double of 18 and 12, you had Liz Murphy, Nariah Clark, Izzy Calloway, Karen McGuff all scored 10 plus points as well. So you had 5 different women on the Akron team score 10 plus points, which should happen when you have a score of 108. But Akron's women's team just hasn't been good all year, so this is just a really good sign for them. But they've picked it up a lot down the stretch. Like some of these games have been closer, some haven't, but they have gotten a few wins down the stretch, and it's just too late at this point. They will have to win out to be in the MAC tournament, especially after the loss they took to Kent State. But I don't see it happening. They would have to go just to have a chance, with there's still other factors you got to rely on. But back to the Ohio game. Bailey Tabling for Ohio. She had 25 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, and still in a block, and also shot 5 of 12 from 3. So she played really well. Obviously, it wasn't enough, but it went to double overtime. So obviously, if you're Ohio, you want that win, because I forget what Ohio's record was at the time. But a game going to double overtime, having that chance to win, you want to close it out in regulation, really both teams. But it ended up going to double overtime. Akron came away with the win. They improved to 7-19 at the time. Then they were fall to 7-20 as they would have to turn around 3 days later and play Kent State, which ended up losing 80-61. They committed 19 turnovers in that game to just 12 assists. After I was just praising them winning their assists, having a positive assist turnover ratio, they had a negative one in the game following that. 19 turnovers and just 12 assists. Akron also missed 8 free throws. They shot 67% from the line. Obviously, you don't expect them to miss all 8, but 4 is acceptable. Missing 4 is acceptable. Like, obviously, if you go perfect, that's amazing, but that's not realistic. But if you can cut those free throw misses down to just 4, then that'd be great. But the playmaking was terrible that game. Kent State, they only took 11 3-pointers. Most of their shots came inside the 3. Kent State really had to shoot any threes to win that game. And then Maya Babbitt, she had 20 points and 4 steals while shooting 6 of 13 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3, and 6 of 6 from the free throw line. So she played great. Then women's lacrosse, the team is now 3-1. They started the season 3-0. They went 1-1 this past week, but they were 2-0, and then this past week they went 1-1, had it down to the wire, 12-10 win over Butler, which Riley Ryan for Butler, she had 2 points and 2 assists, finishing with a total of 4 points. While for Akron, for us, Sienna Hinchcliffe, she was the player of the game with 5 goals and 2 assists and 7 total points. Played amazing, and it was a super close win as well. So scoring contributing to over 50%, like 57, I think, maybe higher. But 5 out of those 12 points, no, definitely higher than 57. But she scored 7 out of the 12 points that Akron scored. She contributed to most of that. And then they lost to Canisius. I might be saying that wrong. They lost to Canisius, who ended Akron's undefeated streak to start the season. They beat them 19-10. Sienna, she had another good game with 3 goals, but then Caitlin, she had 2 goals and 2 assists, but that wasn't enough for Akron. Them 2 alone wasn't enough to do it. And then Ella Farkua for Canisius, she had 3 goals and 3 assists. There was another girl on their team that had 6 total assists, so they had 2 women that had 6. They contributed to 6 points apiece, and they ended up winning 19-10. Like I said, Akron's women's lacrosse team now falls at 3-1 on the season. It's still a good start though. Obviously, the Canisius loss is like, if you lose, you want to at least be close, because a 9-point loss, that is, like, that sucks. But they're still 3-1. The Akron men's team, they'll be in the MAC tournament 22-5. And pretty much if they win that, then they should be a guarantee for March Madness, if I'm not mistaken. Women's basketball, another rough season. This really don't come by surprise. They fall to 7-20, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. We'll have to see what happens and where it goes from there. But yeah, that wraps up Zips update for this week. All right, bowling spotlight. The PBA Players Championship took place this weekend. As you say in the title, the PBA CW debut Shasha Sports World. I think this was amazing. I think they got so much out of this. I don't know if they expected to get as much out of this as they did. Let's talk about the games themselves first. The first game, which I made a short about, it was Brandon Bonta taking on Spencer Robarge. And I know Spencer Robarge is a rookie, but he had a disappointing game. He was the most disappointing out of the five players there. I know he's a rookie, but he looked bad in his TV debut. But this TV debut, I talk about that at the end. But this game, this one wasn't really close. Brandon Bonta, he didn't. He was ahead early on. He ended up winning 227, 173. Then Spencer Robarge, he just looked nervous, and that's fine. He's a rookie. So him being nervous is fine, but he's gonna have to. This definitely gonna. He's definitely gonna be battle tested for those moments that come up later. But this definitely, you could tell he was nervous. With, like I said, it's fine. It's his first year in the PBA, so that's gonna happen. But I hope he can bounce back. And me being critical of that, of him being bad that day, that's not hate by any means. That's just me covering what happened, which he was disappointing. I don't mean it's not hate. Like I talked about Ryan Barnes last year. He had a really great season, and then when he got to a tournament for the first time, he was in the PBA playoffs. He didn't perform well, and I talked about it. It's not hate. I'm just covering what happened. And if they were disappointed, they were disappointed because you expect more. That's just what you expect, and really in any sport. Even for a rookie, you expecting, they might be able to do this and do that. But Spencer Robarge, I expect him to at least, if he was going, he lost 227, 173. I thought he could have had a 205 or 210. I didn't think he'd go below 200, but he did. And so Brandon Bonta moves up the step ladder and he takes on number 3, Jesper Stevenson, who won the PBA playoffs last year. I was just talking about that from the 7th seed. But you had Brandon Bonta taking on Jesper Stevenson. And this one, it was close early on. And then Jesper, he had some really bad, had a few bad rolls. Yes, what it is. He wasn't able to recover, which was unfortunate. And Brandon Bonta ended up winning that one 255 to 216, which up to this point. And that was he performed better in that game. But it was also more competitive with what Jesper Stevenson was able to do. And then Brandon Bonta, he continues to move up the step ladder. Now he's taking on Graham 5, which this was the closest game, I think. And this was the closest. And up to this point, the Jesper game was still his best. But this was definitely the closest game and the most competitive because Graham 5, Graham 5 looked great until those last 3 frames. Frames 8 through 10, that's where it was man, because he had a chance. It came down to those last 3 frames. It was the 10th frame. Brandon Bonta, he was ahead 247, 226. It wasn't as good. It was pretty similar to his last game with the 255 versus Jesper Stevenson. So he kept that pace, that gradual pace that he took from the first game. It was a bit of a struggle, but he was still able to win because Spencer just struggled more. The Jesper Stevenson, him getting cold, the middle, around 5th, 6th frame, if I'm not mistaken, when they was doing that. And then this one came down to the wire. It was frame 10, Graham 5. He needs 3 strikes to tie it, and that would have forced the roll off round. Wasn't able to. He struck on the first one. The second one, he got the 9-pin, I think. Second one, 9-pin. And so that ended up costing him, and that's why he moved down to a 226 because he ended up getting 2 strikes out of the 3, but he needed 3 to send it to a roll off, and he wasn't able to get that second one, which ended up costing him. So the third one didn't matter what he did. So that's Brandon Bonta ended up winning that. So you can argue luck, if you want to, but Brandon Bonta did enough to keep himself in the game, and they were tied. So I don't even say it's luck. Graham 5 had the ball in his hands last. He was the last one to roll his ball down the lane, and he wasn't able to get the job done. So Graham 5, I wouldn't say it was choked either. It was just you. I mean, I guess you could because this is Brandon Bonta's 3rd game in a row. But Graham 5, I feel like this opportunity, this is one that he should have won. Ground Five should have won this, but he didn't. And you got to congratulate Brandon Bonta for moving all the way up the step ladder in 3 straight matchups, and now he's in the finals taking on EJ Tackett, one of the best in the world, one of the greatest of all time. And then EJ Tackett, he looked really good against. He won the game versus Jason Belmonte from the captain's match to get the advantage for the World versus USA PBA matchup that's taking place on April 4th. So we're just 2 months away from that, or a little less than 2 months away because it's almost March. But that's going to be exciting to see. So EJ Tackett, it seemed like he carried that momentum into this game and was still really solid. He had a really good game. He scored more than Ground Five, who only had 226, scored more than Just Received, who had 216, scored more than Spencer Robach, who had 173. He scored more than Brandon Bonta did in his first game with 227. But EJ Tackett played really well, but Brandon Bonta bowled for 300. So that 238 didn't matter when Brandon Bonta went for a 300. It striked every time. I wasn't expecting that. Playing 4 straight games in a row and going and bowling for 300 on your final game, that is insane. That is insanely impressive. 4 straight games and you don't have a perfect game until your 4th one. That's so impressive to me. Because it's like if he did it in the first round, then I would have been like, okay, that's still impressive. That wouldn't have been as impressive as this. Because obviously coming out, that's how you got the momentum, TV debut. Like I wouldn't be surprised if like the 227 didn't surprise me. Because like I said, it's a TV debut. You're the first 2 up on the CW. So it's like, okay. But then it's like in the second or third game, if the second one, if you go for 300, it's like, oh yeah, I adjusted to the lane. I know what I'm doing now. The third one, it could have been like, that's a bit surprising because it's a 3rd straight game. But you even more adjusted. 4th straight game, I'm thinking he's tired. But no, he striked every time. So Brandon Bonta wins the PBA Players Championship. And now you're asking, what shocks the world about this? This shocks the world expected the guy to go to 300. Like it's been a while. Like obviously they're professional bowlers, so they can go for 300 at any time. Anybody can do it. But on the CW debut, you had a guy go for 300 in the final game to win the first PBA tournament of the year. The first big tournament of the year was won on a guy bowling 300 and going through 4 straight games. That's one of the biggest moments so far of the PBA. And then you had 2 new bowlers who most fans don't know about, with Brandon Bonta and Spencer Robach. So that also plays into a factor why this is so successful for the CW. You had every game featured a guy scoring at least 216. The only game that didn't feature a 200 was Spencer Robach, but Brandon Bonta made up for it with scoring 200. And Spencer, he got plenty of time to improve. The crowd was great. The crowd was into it. The commentary was really good. So everything went well. The CW, and then they posted it on YouTube as well after. So for the people that couldn't see it because it came on at 5 Eastern time, if you couldn't see it and you got home at like 8, you could go back and watch it on YouTube. Might be a few ads. This was amazing for the PBA. You get a guy going through the entire step ladder. He's the one to bowl for 300. You get EJ Tackett having a really the 3rd game came down to the wire. Ground 5 needed 3 strikes and he only got 2. So really you can call that. So really you can, even looking at storylines, you had a disappointing rookie and Just Received, and it was just like nobody. The second game, nothing really happened. Then you get Ground 5, quote unquote, choking, if you want to say that. And then EJ Tackett, EJ Tackett plays a really good game and loses because Brandon Bonta strikes every time. Every time he bowled, he had a strike in that game. But yeah, everything was successful for the CW. The PBA's CW debut was amazing. You couldn't ask for anything better. Maybe the first game could have been a bit better, but it's still some excitement because it's a rookie. Because he's a rookie, first time on the big stage. So obviously, I think nerves got to him, but he'll be fine. Hope to see him back in some tournaments later in the year. But shout out to Once again, congratulations to Brandon Bonta on winning the PBA Players Championship. All right, hot take of the week. My guy Stu told me that the Steelers and my guy Stu, he a Steelers fan. He said that he thinks the Steelers can reach, can get their seventh ring before the Patriots. Not their seventh ring, their seventh Super Bowl. My guy's hot take of the week. My guy Stu told me that the Steelers will reach will win their seventh Super Bowl before the Patriots will. I don't know about that. I think when it comes down to the Steelers and the Patriots, the thing that's going to separate them is the young talent that they have. This Patriots team is young. Their defense is amazing. Obviously, we've seen teams go to the Super Bowl and not get back. We've seen Burrow and the Bengals get there and haven't gotten back to the Super Bowl. Seen Josh Allen, Lamar be in the playoffs plenty of times, not get to the Super Bowl at all in general. And I'm just using these AFC examples since they're both in the AFC. But I think your youth at quarterback is so important because Drake May, no matter what people say about him, he still had a good season. And we schedule. I get that. But at the end of the day, you have to play who's on your schedule. These are still professional athletes, professional teams. They're not picking who they play. If you're bad the previous season, you get a easy schedule, a quote unquote easy schedule the next season. And they did the Patriots. They played amazing. Drake May was really good. He was an MVP candidate for a reason because MVP is based on what he did in the regular season, not the playoffs. And so for the regular season, he played really well despite that. Like I know they lost to the Raiders, but he still led them to the second seed in the AFC. Now in the playoffs, it's a different story because their defense led them to the Super Bowl, and that's fine. But Drake May, I think that's obviously we know who Rodgers is and as a veteran, but is Rodgers done this year? I mean, I think he hasn't confirmed it yet, but you're left at a question mark at quarterback going into one of the weakest quarterback draft classes. Like the Patriots are set because they have Drake May. You got Hunter Henry at tight end. You got a really good defense. I like Mike Vrabel as coach. Diggs, I think it's been a really nice addition to that team with his veteran presence. Even though he didn't win it, he still did get to the Super Bowl his first year with the Patriots. So I think having all those pieces, who else? Douglas, Booty, you got all those guys. So this Patriots team, I think the ceiling is high. They didn't beat up Broncos. Well, Broncos didn't have Bo Nix, but it's nothing they can do about that. The Patriots still had to play them. It was still the playoffs. They still had to win. The Steelers have too many question marks. What's the situation with DK Metcalf? Who's your quarterback? This is a weak draft class, so you aren't looking at this draft class and say, hey, let's get a quarterback. The Steelers should be in a rebuilding mode at this point. They shouldn't be trying to continue getting to the playoffs because they won't win. This team isn't set up to win a playoff game. They're set up to have regular season success. I do give Mike Tomlin that. He's a very consistent coach. He's a really good coach, but he's not done enough in these last few years for that Steelers team to actually go on a run. The last years that the Steelers, the last time that you were convinced they won a playoff game, it's probably the last time they won it was 2017, January 5th, something like that. So these Steelers teams aren't convincing. You have to go in on a young quarterback and draft him. But it can't be this year because this class is weak. If you were to rebuild, blow it up, the tank this year, the Steelers need Dante Moore. He's going back to college. The Steelers would benefit from getting Dante Moore and building a team around him. But there's too many question marks around the Steelers, in my opinion, to say that they can get number 7 before the Patriots will. Because while it is hard to get back, you don't know how Mahomes is going to come back from injury. I hope that he's still great coming back. But you don't know how he could come back from injury. We know the Patriots' schedule is going to be tougher next season. But I think Mike Vrabel is a good enough coach, and I think they learned a lot from this run this year, this playoff run, to where, if we have this tougher schedule, they might face the Texans. I haven't looked at the schedules. But let's say they face the Texans again. The Texans, they had playoff CJ Stroud. Let's see what they look like versus a regular season CJ Stroud. Because at the end of the day, CJ Stroud can still perform. Maybe he won't, but we'll see. But this Patriots team, I trust them way more than the Steelers because the Steelers' future is so unclear. They didn't fire Tomlin. He stepped down or something like that. So Mike Tomlin, you could trade him for something. I don't know who. Obviously, teams will want Mike Tomlin. He's a really good coach, at least in the regular season. He can get you to the playoffs. But the Steelers, they're not. The Steelers need a quarterback, but this is the wrong year to not. Like, if Rodgers retires this year, you're in a rough spot. Like, this isn't the year that you go out and get a quarterback. That was either last year or next year. And since Dante Moore is going back, I would say blow it up. But I don't know if the Steelers want to do that with how long they've been successful in the regular season. But man, this team, I don't see them getting number 7 anytime soon. Their defense will always be good, but even last season, their defense was solid. It started off slow. The first half of the season, the defense started off slow, and they picked up the second half of the season where you also don't have a great offense. Like DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin, that's a great 1-2 punch. But if DK Metcalf can't control his temper, this is something that's followed him since Seattle. He damn near cost the Steelers a playoff spot. They got Calvin Austin being injured also played a factor, but if you don't lose that Browns game if you have one of them 2 receivers. Obviously, Calvin Austin, he missed the last 2 weeks. DK missed week 17 and week 18. If he's there week 17, I'm confident that they beat the Browns and that they don't have to worry and that the Ravens game isn't important now because he would have already had it locked up, the playoffs. So that's very crucial. Like, even though you won it, DK Metcalf still put you in a situation you could lose. And the Ravens had a really good chance of winning that game. They weren't able to, but they definitely could have won. They didn't, but they definitely could have won that. And then we seen what they did in the playoffs. They got destroyed by the Texans. Played really good defense for 3 quarters. Then the defense just got tired, and the offense for the Texans finally did something. Their defense scored too, so it wasn't just the offense. The Texans defense played really well too. But the Steelers, I can't fathom them winning number 7, their 7th Super Bowl, not ring, but Super Bowl. Just talking specifically Super Bowls, I don't see the Patriots winning before the Steelers. I don't see the Steelers winning before the Patriots. I think the Patriots will definitely get their 7th Super Bowl before the Steelers do. And it's because the Steelers' future is so unclear. You have no idea what their future looks like. And Jaylen Warren, he's the running back. He's solid. I like him. Still got prep. That prime move at tight end. I don't know what the future holds for this team. We still got TJ Watt back there, and I know he's still with some injuries, but it might be time for him to give it up. Like some of those injuries that he's having, it's like it might be time to let it go. Like Aaron Rodgers, like I said, it's unclear. Then who's your backup? Who's your quarterback? Because you need somebody for the future. Maybe it might be a long shot, but maybe they go out and get Justin Fields again. Because Justin Fields, he can lose you some games. If you want to get a quarterback, you're not getting him this year. Try to get Dante Moore. He's going back. Sign Justin Fields. Now, Justin Fields could win you some games because he showed that he can do that he went 4-2 with the Steelers. But if he can play bad, like he's been most of his career, he can lose you some games. And he can put you in prime position to get Dante Moore. But I don't know if the Steelers want to go that route, which I don't blame them if they don't, because some teams just don't want to tank, and that's fine. But the Steelers have to blow it up. If the Steelers want a chance to win a ring again, you got to blow it up because the AFC is tough. Even your division alone, the Bengals with Burrow, Chase, Higgins, the Ravens with Lamar and Henry. Then you got the Chiefs. Mahomes going to be healthy again. Travis Kelce probably in his final 2 years. The Colts are on the rise if Daniel Jones stays healthy. The Texans, Jaguars, 2 young teams that's coming. The Patriots, the Bills, they still going to be doing their thing. So it's like I definitely see the Patriots winning 7 before the Steelers. Even if it's not soon, they got the U factor. Like, they got so many good pieces. It's just this season, they're going to be this next season coming up, they're going to be battle tested with a tougher schedule. And if they can play well through that, if Drake May can play as good as he did last year and commit less turnovers, then I see it where the Patriots could win as soon as next year. Like, I know it's tough for teams to get back, especially in this decade. But if the Patriots got back, it wouldn't surprise me. It just depends on how well they overcome the adversity from this upcoming season with a tougher schedule. But we'll see. But I just don't. The Steelers' future is just too unclear for me to say that they can potentially win another ring before the Patriots win another ring. We'll see, but I just don't see it happening. All right, Monday Night Raw. A pretty standard show and go home show for Elimination Chamber. It was okay. It wasn't nothing special, but it was. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. It could have been a couple of more matches, but I still give it a 6 out of 10 because I think the way they ended with the AJ stuff, that was great. The men's elimination chamber qualifying match was really good, aside from the injury. I do wish O'Brien would have qualified, but it is what it is. Jay qualifying, it still makes sense. Super over with the fans. CM Punk promo I didn't like, but let's talk about the other stuff. Gunther and Dragon Lee, their segment was cool, but I feel like a match needs to happen within the next 2 weeks. Maybe they do a promo next week, then the week after that, it's a match. But you keep teasing them going against each other, so you got to do the match soon. Like, yeah, Dragon Lee is going to lose, but give him Gunther. Like, yeah, because you still need something for Gunther to do. If he's going to be the super dominant heel, let him wrestle on TV a little bit. Like, yes, he's retiring the Legends, but he can still wrestle on TV. This feud with Dragon Lee, I'm enjoying it. I think it's a solid feud. It is, like, obviously we know why he's doing it to defend AJ Styles because of Gunther forced him into retirement. So it plays into kayfabe, plays into the story. So I do like that. But you got to have a match within the next 2 weeks. If not next week, then do a promo with the two where they go back and forth. Then the week following, then have Dragon Lee challenge him to a match for next week, and that's how you can set it up. Because you've been building towards it, so it wouldn't be like you're just throwing a match together. It's actually a story here. It's a story that you can that can culminate on Raw. Like, it don't got to end at a pay-per-view. Like, you're not going to drag this to WrestleMania. It wouldn't make sense. But you can have this be on March, the 2nd March, second Raw of March, and have Gunther get the win, make it the main event. Or even have Gunther start the show, saying that he's wrestling right now so he can leave and go home. Like, that's what you got to do. Cody Rhodes showed up for no reason. I mean, I get that he's from Atlanta, but if he's not building a story for the Elimination Chamber, why be there? I do think Bronson Reed was going to win, so obviously you can predict that. But Cody coming out just to get interrupted by the Vision was pretty stupid, and it didn't serve a purpose. Like, the other people being there, like, it made sense. So many people was there because of AJ's thing, but Cody didn't have to actually come out and try to cut a promo because it didn't serve a purpose, really. Like, we know what the story is. The story is with Jay and Brunson. It's with the Vision and the Usos for the tag titles. That's what the story is. The story don't involve Cody. Like, even if Bronson Reed did qualify, it would have been because he pinned Jay. It wouldn't have been because, I want to get after Cody Rhodes. We're past War Games. We don't care about that now. And the heel team won. Division won, too. So, there's no reason for the Division to want to go after Cody when he's not a champion. And it didn't make sense for Cody to be out there to begin with. But then, you had Leah pick Stephanie. This segment was cool. I wish she would have sold it more, making us believe that she could pick Jade. She talked to Stephanie, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is pretty obvious, which they've been building towards it. But I was like, at least build up a little bit of hype for potential swerve to make us think she would choose Jade. At least let Jade say a little something. But she was like, I'm going to just punch Stephanie. And I was like, okay, that's cool. The segment wasn't bad. It was just, I wish they would have sold it a bit more. But Liv choosing Stephanie, it make the most sense. It's going to be a really good match at WrestleMania. I'll talk about Raquel later. But Liv, her and Stephanie at Mania, I mean, you got to make the matches got to be official. You got to start selling those Mania tickets because it seems like they're struggling. So making some of these matches official, it's like, okay, that's sound good to me. Now both Rumble winners went out to the Raw Championship. That's interesting. Here's what it is. Now, Natalya and Natty, I should say, and Maxine had a match against each other, wrestled to a no contest. Natty also came out to the driver entrance because when she came out for America, it was on an ad or it was showing something else. We didn't see Natty's entrance. They were showing the backstage. They were showing people backstage for AJ's farewell for his I forget what they call it, for his tribute. They were showing people backstage for AJ Styles tribute while Natty came out, and Maxine got the entrance. Then Natty just beat her up. She lost a qualifying match last week, didn't get an entrance this week, wrestled to a no contest versus Maxine. Then the last time they wrestled in a match, the match didn't even start. Like Natty don't look strong doing this. Obafemi and Rusev have to stare down for the second straight week. Made the match already. Like Oba's still a free agent. Why? He got a match with The Miz on Friday. It's like SmackDown letting him wrestle while Raw he just doing all these backstage segments. It's like let him and Rusev have a match. Like you don't gotta be like you want to have an actual story, then cool. It can be a Raw story. You can have it end with Oba winning on Raw just one match, a few promos, maybe two promos, maybe one attack, then the match. But you already had the stare down, so it's like maybe a promo, Rusev trying to get back in the title picture, like he was U.S. get back in the mid card title picture because he was U.S. champion like 10 years ago or whatever, or 11 at this point. But Oba, he's still a free agent. Like you need to sign with somebody already. Like they kind of dragging this too long for my liking. Brock Lesnar's doing the open challenge to WrestleMania. That's kind of stupid, but okay. We okay. It's like I don't. And he came out with Paul Heyman, which that didn't make sense, but okay. But it do, but it don't at the same time. Because it's like, are you with the Vision or not? But Brock doing a WrestleMania open challenge. Pretty stupid in my opinion. But it is what it is. We'll see who accept. I have no idea who's accepting, but we'll see. Nothing. No, Becky Lynch, her promo was great backstage. AJ Lee wasn't there. Of course, he wasn't there. She's a part-timer anyways. But great promo by Becky Lynch. Finn Balor and Dominic, they got into it backstage. They stared each other down. And who really cares? The New Day ran into Javon Evans and Offset. Yeah, Javon Evans and Offset backstage. That was a pretty entertaining segment. It made me thinking when X had called Takeoff Liftoff. That's hilarious. But anyways, it led to Javon Evans and Kofi having a match, which was really good. Javon did a great job selling. Offset, he threw Grayson Waller over the table. It didn't affect Grayson Waller at all. He just jumped over the table, but it is what it is. But yeah, that was cool. Javon Evans ended up getting the win. I mean, of course, that's a good way for him to build momentum going into the chamber. I'm glad they let him wrestle because there's other people in chamber who didn't wrestle on Raw and on Raw. Some might be wrestling on SmackDown, but it's a good way to stay ready and get prepared for the chamber because it can be risky having guy wrestle the week before, days before the chamber, but it's like you got to have them ready because they're not going to wrestle for the next few days. Like Javon, I'm sure he's going to be training and practicing, but he's not going to be in an actual match unless they do a 6-man tag on Friday. But that's a possibility he won't, so he wouldn't be in a match for the next few days. So that's kind of a good thing, in my opinion, to let him wrestle, get the win over Kofi, dream match that people keep comparing it to. So let it happen. This feeding the social media for this. I'll accept that. Then Raquel, she won the qualifying match versus Io and Kairi Sane. Great triple threat match. That was a good main event match where you got to the main event segment. Raquel, she's still looking strong. I do wish she won the title, but she's been looking great. She's doing her thing, wrestling like a big woman, as Kevin Nash advised her to, and she's been doing her thing. Like she's been really good. Nothing negative to say about anybody in this match. Really, Kairi Sane looked good. Io looked good. Like obviously, Io, she always gonna deliver. She's always gonna put on good performances, and that's what she was able to do once again. She didn't get the win, which is very telling. Because why have Rhea in the chamber and not Io? Even when Bianca and Naomi was tag champions last year, they was both in the chamber. Then they lost at the Raw before, but they were still both in there. So Io not being in there, but Rhea is. That's interesting. But Raquel, she won, which I'm glad she did. And she looked great in the match. I'm glad that she's going to be in the chamber. I think she's going to look good there. Proved a lot of people wrong. People still calling her mid for some reason. Raquel was great. She's really improving. She's really taking a step up this year. She's doing her thing. She should have won the world title. Should have been Raquel and Liv at WrestleMania. It's not, which is unfortunate but it is what it is. But I give her all 6 out of 10. It's definitely one of the best episodes in the last few weeks, I would say. Yeah, last couple of weeks Raw. It's better than last week's Raw. But yeah, I give it that. For the mid episode, but it's all right. All right, the injury report for this week. Oh man, I didn't add. Who didn't? Okay. Oh, for the MLB, a few injuries in spring training. Got Pablo Lopez, the pitcher for the Twins. He has a UCL tear, which is super unfortunate to have that type of injury in the preseason. He's out for the season. He's having a season-ending surgery very soon. Unfortunate. Good thing that he's getting treated right away, getting the surgery as soon as possible. But man, that sucks because the Twins, they were pretty. I think they were just a mediocre team last year. But man, that preseason injury, that sucks. Um, Diamondbacks infielder Tyler Locklear, he has a shoulder/elbow injury, and he's expected to return in mid-May to early June. So he's gonna be out for a minute. He's gonna be out. What's that? For 3 months. And so that's I don't know what the notification was, but that's unfortunate for him and the Diamondbacks. For Nick Paul left. This is Nick Paul Lightning left wing. He got an undisclosed injury with no timetable, so that sucks. Obviously, the Lightning, a team with playoff aspirations this year, not having one of your key players for that stretch, so you don't know when he can come back or if he'll come back. So that's unfortunate. David Perrin for the Senators, left wing. He has a hernia injury. He's expected to return March 14th, though. So that is soon. That is coming up because the NHL games will be starting back tomorrow. Excuse me. The NHL games will be starting back tomorrow on the 25th. Obviously, they were off for 2 weeks for the Olympic break. And Team USA brought home gold, but a lot of the NHL players came from all over the place that are all able to compete, whether it was Canada, Slovakia, Germany, USA, wherever they was able to compete, have fun. So congratulations to them. USA got gold, Canada got silver. I think Slovakia got bronze, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, and then hernia injury. That sucks, but it is a good news that he'll be returning soon. So that's definitely so that's great. For the couple of NBA injuries, Shea, he should be back soon. I think he comes back. If he doesn't come back on the 27th, he should be getting reevaluated that day for OKC. Obviously, Shea, OKC's point guard, but he got an abdomen injury, which that's unfortunate. They didn't want a few games without Shea, but I don't think that hurt his MVP case at all. A few games without Shea, it's like they're J-Dub is still out too, but they didn't went 2-3 without Shea and J-Dub. Don't think it had the effect on the SGA's MVP case. I don't think it's gonna have an effect if the game's missed. And it's like people complaining about 65. It's only one MVP to not play 65 games and win it, and that happened in 1978. So it's kind of always been a rule. Like you have to play to win the award. Like I don't know why people have a problem with the rule now when it's quietly been a rule for the entire existence of the NBA. Bill Walton is the only person that they got past that rule in 1978, where he won MVP and didn't play 65 games. Every other MVP played at least 65 games. So I don't see the problem. Dylan Brooks has the Suns small forward has a broken hand. He's out for 4 to 6 weeks, which is super unfortunate. Man, the Suns been playing good too, and Dylan Brooks has been really good, potentially making all defensive team, which he did have a case for. But now that he's out for 4 to 6 weeks, he probably won't be in that conversation. And that's man. I don't know. I guess the Suns, because they weren't able to win that game when he went out versus the Magic. They still got a good win versus them, but it's super unfortunate that he's gonna be out with a broken hand for the next month, maybe month and a half. We'll see. Hopefully, it doesn't linger on too much. Hopefully, when he comes back, it doesn't linger on because we've seen Jalen Green when he came back the first time, his hamstring continued to linger on. But hand and hamstring is different. But hand, once that needs to be fully healed for sure. So if he got to take that whole 6 weeks, then take that whole 6 weeks. For some wrestling injuries, you got. Well, we just found out last night that Brunson Reed is out with a torn tricep, so that's super unfortunate. They said he's out indefinitely. Prayers up to him. Then Xavier Woods, he's injured as well. I wonder what that means for the New Day. I mean, they still on TV. They were still featured last night, but I think that's because it was a go-home show for Elimination Chamber. They was like, you know what, we can feature the New Day. Like, it's not like Kofi and Waller going after the tag titles. It's like they could do that. They're still a part of the New Day. They're both part of the New Day, so I don't know why they couldn't try to make their case at the tag title since Woods is injured. I have Waller trying to fill in for Woods and prove that he belongs there. Like, he ain't really did anything to prove he belongs with the New Day. They just kind of, that's like, you know what? We're going to put Grayson Waller with the New Day and call him Big G. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. Big G. Like, yeah, okay. But the New Day, they could at least go after with Woods and, not Woods. Woods is injured. But with Kofi and Waller, they could go after the tag titles. Like, I don't see why not. They're not going to win them, but they could at least try to challenge for them or something. Because who are the Usos challengers at this point? Like, I know they got the Vision. Oh, but other than that, who else are they going to challenge? You got to have some other challengers because it's not a guarantee that the Vision wins or gets the match. Plans might change with Brunson Reed injured now, but we'll see what happens. TNA is really healthy. Their entire roster is healthy. It's no injuries on TNA. Like, any injury that is on TNA is storyline based. There's no actual injuries. Like, there's no actual real life injuries in TNA. So that's something to be proud of for TNA, that you've been able to stay that healthy this year. I guess it's nothing major. So that's really good for TNA. You don't got no injuries, man. Then for AEW, it's a few injuries, but I think the most significant one is Jay White still being out because he's been out for a minute. So it's like, when he comes back, what should he do? Should Jay White come back as a contender? Should he come back with the Bang Bang Gang? I mean, I would, because I think he will, because I don't think they're just going to drop the stuff with the Bang Bang Gang, still acknowledge his injury. But he's legit been out for a minute. So when he come back to Bang Bang Gang, I think Ace Austin is a part of it now. So they didn't grew a bit. Well, they didn't grew by one person. The other Gunn brother is still out. So I would have them. Then I think their faces too, because they team with Billy Gunn at some point for some reason. But that was a few weeks ago. I was kind of confused. But when Jay White comes back, I think he's still going to be the leader, of course. But he could come back as a face, go after the world title, get that rematch versus MJF, whether he's champion or not, but beat him in a match. If he's champion, especially beat him in a match. But even if he comes back and MJF is doing side quests for a little bit, if he loses to Hangman, have Jay White, have him come back, and that be one of his most significant wins, getting that get back against MJF, because he did have a world title shot against him, but he wasn't able to win. So that's the injury report for this week. Those are some of the significant injuries of guys who are out, who got injured recently, who got or should be coming back soon. Try to change it up. So sometimes this week is mainly injuries. Sometimes I'll talk about players who came back from injury. I might change it up next week and talk about who came back from injury. Or, I mean, I could have did that for the Olympic break, but so I'm going to go over some NHL players and talk about how they come back to start the NHL or to start the second half of the NHL season, heading into the playoffs. But prayers up to everybody that is injured, whether I said their names and acknowledge them or not. Prayers up to any athlete who is injured at the moment, because obviously these men and women are here to entertain us. But we want people to be healthy, want to watch the best product possible, and that comes with you being healthy. And we can't see the best product on a consistent basis if people are hurt. So TNA, they've been really good this year, in my opinion. and they haven't had any significant injuries this year that I can think of or remember. So TNA, yeah, keep doing your thing. I've enjoyed what I've seen. It's been no major injuries in TNA, like I said. But yeah. All right, last segment for today. Are we buying this? Um, it's spring training for the MLB, so it doesn't. You can't put too much stock into it. But at the same time, I'm here to talk about sports. I'm here to, so I'm gonna talk about them anyways. Who should the Chicago White Sox have been really good in preseason so far? Can this carry over? Now, personally, not to answer my initial question, I don't, because obviously, spring training, it doesn't. Spring training, preseason, Hall of Fame game, stuff like that, it doesn't ultimately matter because it's not important. It's like once we get to the regular season, it's gonna be like, oh yeah, now we see, oh, we really see what a team can do, what they're made of. But preseason is important because the top players that are still playing, the Dodgers are like 4-0 or 3-0, so the Dodgers are undefeated still. But the Dodgers, I kind of expect, even in preseason, they're going hard. But for a team like the White Sox, I'm taking this and running with this because it's like every week, it's like, and plus also for the RB buying, if I wanted every week to be like, oh yeah, I'm definitely buying that. I want to change it up sometimes and talk about the hot teams. Because the RB buying this is essentially just following storylines, really in any sport of a team that's super, or a team or a player that's super hot and it's looked amazing over the past few weeks, and talking about if this, can they keep it up? Can they continue doing this? Are we buying them being legit? Or like, I don't think I've talked about the Hornets, but are they a legit playoff threat, for example? Like that might be a topic of conversation depending on how these next few weeks go for the Hornets. And so that's just an example of why that's explaining why I'm using the White Sox for this week, because I don't think they can keep it up. But it is some positives to take away from what the White Sox have done in the preseason. Obviously, they've been one of the worst teams in the regular season the past couple of seasons. Haven't been anywhere close to the wild card, let alone playoffs. So they ain't been close to that. And then spring training, like I said, we've seen some major injuries. We've seen some teams that have gotten hot. We see the Cleveland Guardians at the top of the standings now. But it is a few takeaways from this team, from the White Sox early on in preseason. And I was in spring training, whatever you want to call it. They have a record of 3-1 so far. They did start 3-0, so they lost their last game. But a 3-0 start is still really good for the White Sox. And I had the team decided I wanted to talk about before yesterday. So the games that happened yesterday didn't really have an effect on who else I'm going to talk about, because I wanted to talk about the White Sox and what they've been doing. So like, out of those 4 games, they're 2-0 on the with the 2 home games that they had, 1-1 on the road on the 2 road games they had. Now the spring training schedule was kind of crazy with how much they travel, but it's what it is. But that's a good start. You start 3-1 out of 4 games, 2 of which were at home, 2 of which are on the road, and you pretty, like I said, it's super early. But the biggest takeaway I have for them is the runs scored to the runs allowed. They've scored 28 runs so far in this spring training. They've only allowed 10 runs while having a plus 18. They have the second best point differential out of any spring training team so far, and they've scored at least 4 runs in every game. This isn't something that's going to be consistent in the regular season, but if they can get half of that, if they can score at least 2 runs every game, and they can consistently put up 2 runs per game, I think they have a better chance than they do in the last few years. I still don't think this team is great by any means. Like, they still suck, but I don't think they'll be one of the worst like they have been the past couple of years. Like, I do see a ceiling of them. Oh, we can be, or they can be mediocre at best. Like, if they're just a mediocre team, I think that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, because it's slow steps. It's steps. Last year, you had one of the worst records we've seen since 1939. Last year, you weren't that damn bad, but you were still really bad. So it was to a point where it was like, oh yeah, this team, they aren't as bad as they were last season. They got like 10 to 15 more wins, but they're still not close to the wild card. So, boom. So now it's going to be like, oh, we're not there. We're not as bad as the last few seasons. You can be at least a mediocre team. It won't be enough to get you to the playoffs, but it will be enough to get people to start watching again, to get people to come to the games again. Because there's been some White Sox games I've seen the past few seasons where the crowd is just empty or dead. I don't like this team. I think can be better than that. I don't think they'll be good, but I think they can be an exciting, mediocre team. They have 44 total hits so far, which is 11 per game. Another stat that I don't think will hold in the regular season, but that is very impressive. 11 hits per game is crazy. I don't admit a team like the Dodgers, I can see doing that on a consistent basis, but the White Sox, they won't be doing this. But if they can keep this up, then they're going to be a hard team to stop getting that many damn hits. And Tyler Gilbert has 3 strikeouts so far. The pitching has been really good for this team as well. They lost their last game 5-4, which obviously doesn't doesn't help my statement. But those other 3 games, the pitching was really great. A 5-4 loss in preseason, like I said, it's just preseason, so obviously it's all hype for most of these teams that have been bad but are good right now. So the regular season will truly tell us and truly answer this question of can this preseason success carry over? And maybe this preseason success won't can it carry over throughout the preseason? We still that question still hasn't been answered. We'll see. I think it will because it's preseason, but going into the regular season, can the White Sox keep this up? I don't think so. But if they prove me wrong, I'll be the first to admit that I was proven wrong. But I think they'll be a mediocre team. I think they'll be around 500, maybe a bit lower. But I think for the most part, they'll be around 500 for most of the year, which is fine because a team like the White Sox, these slow steps getting gradually better. I think it's fine for a team like them. So let me know what y'all think. I don't think the White Sox, I don't think it'll carry over into the regular season to an extent. I think it's a yes and no for my question of can it carry over. I think to a standpoint, will they be a contending team to be in the wild card? Hell no. I don't think they'll be that. But can it carry over to them being better than the last few years? Definitely. They'll definitely be better than the last couple of years. I think they'll be like a middle of the pack team, maybe a bit lower, but they won't be super bottom like they have been. But they also aren't going to be like a playoff team or a wild card team. I just don't see that happening. But let me know what y'all think. Shout out Tyler Gilbert for the for the Chicago White Sox. But with that being said, leave a like on this live stream. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Comment, share for others to see. And I'll be dropping a video about my favorite wrestler all time, AJ Styles, tomorrow morning. So make sure y'all stay tuned for that. Peace.